So I played the Division 2 beta this weekend and I wanted to give you my thoughts. If you are a fan of the first Division, I believe you will definitely enjoy Division 2. It's a lot more of the same and the great core mechanics that made that game fun to play. They fixed a lot of the issues with the first game, but they also add a couple issues in my opinion. One of the major complaints about the Division was that most enemies were bullet sponges. I found myself wishing that the Division had more of a realistic system like Ghost Recon, where headshots were headshots and people went down very quickly. But I understand if you throw that mechanic into the Division, your difficulty is completely gone because the Ghost Recon was based off of stealth and attacking as a squad. Division is more so focused on high intense action and combat, and jumping into the thick of it. Ubisoft did find a good solution to this bullet sponge problem, though. Enemies in Division 2 can still be bullet sponges, especially when they have armor or they're high level, but headshots do so much more damage regardless of an enemy's level that it makes it feel so much better. Since Division 1 enemies were giant bullet sponges, most people stuck with builds that were with SMGs, LMGs, and ARs. They wanted to have builds that delivered a ton of bullets super fast so that they could eat through the sponge and kill enemies. Well, in Division 2, because of this change, I actually found myself, instead of using my marksman rifle as a secondary weapon to try and do massive damage to an enemy when they were unsuspecting, I was actually using my marksman rifle as my primary and using my AR as my backup when somebody got too close. This was actually a great change in my opinion, and it made me feel like I could use the guns I want to use more often and actually still have a chance at winning. The other good thing about this series has always been the map. Division 2 is supposed to be a one-to-one recreation of DC, and so far it looks like it is. The map is also very dense, just like the first Division. Plenty of nooks and crannies to explore and find supplies and nuggets of story there. Ubisoft also added a few more features to Division 2 to flesh out the world more. You still have your main missions, your side missions, and upgrading of your main base of operations. But what they've added is they've kind of expanded on the concept of safe houses, right? The first Division, you had a safe house, basically one in almost every area, where you would pick up some simple missions off of a bulletin board, refill, and be able to buy some equipment. Well, they still have safe houses in Division 2 that are just like that, but they also added a new system with settlements. So you'll have different areas which will be bigger than a safe house, but smaller than your base of operations. But these act as like little bases of operations. Here you will find main characters, people you can recruit to go work at your base of operations to help improve it, and you'll find key missions here. This was really cool because it added more immersion and story into the game. The other great feature that they added was some more open world events. So instead of going to a map marker and saying, all right, here is a side event mission happening in this street that will give me more supplies for my medical wing or more supplies for my security wing like the first Division had, you come across these areas that are controlled by an enemy faction and you have to fight them off and remove them from the area, which results in kind of like a mini skirmish and then like a mini boss, kind of like the wandering bosses of the first Division. You fight your way through that, and then once you win that firefight, you end up having control of that area. And now it doesn't become necessarily a full safe zone, but then a nearby settlement will send civilians there. They'll be armed, and then you'll get access to a supply point, which will give you multiple different supplies, from weapons to crafting materials to Division tech that you need to unlock more skills. This is a really cool concept because you can just kind of stumble into these. They'll be marked on your map, but they'll be areas where it's a bigger fight. Where in the first Division, it was more so, all right, here's a spot. The JTF is getting encroached on. You need to fight them off, and then you'll be able to unlock 3 chests that have just electronics or tools in it. This actually gives you a full-blown supply room where there's usually a pretty cool weapon and a bunch of other supplies, which I thought was really nice. Now back to the settlements. The other great thing is once you do missions in the settlements, you're actually going to also affect them as well. They'll upgrade just like the base of operations, and you'll be able to I end up seeing more people there, access more areas of that settlement, and just feel more immersed, like you're having an effect on the world instead of just one base in the entire world. Is being upgraded and nothing else is. It makes it more realistic that if you're in a big city, people aren't always just going to flock to one central point. They're going to have their own stuff set up, and they're going to be better better base of operations in different parts of the city. Another nice touch is that instead of the JTF forces fighting off factions at specific scripted spots, you'll actually see civilians patrolling the streets around their settlement. You'll see them get into firefights. I thought was real interesting because in the First Division, you'll notice a lot of the Allied forces are just walking around, and unless they're in a scripted spot for a fight, they don't fight. They just wander their path back and forth, and they'll never encounter an enemy. And the enemies are usually fighting with each other. I found countless times in Division 1 where the Rikers were fighting the cleaners or the rioters or whatnot. You'll have patrols wandering around, and then they'll be fighting off the enemy factions themselves, which is another great piece of immersion I liked. Now it's time for the bad news. My main complaint about this is an annoyance I could not figure out for the life of me how to turn off. I went through every menu setting, every option, trying to figure out how do I stop this from happening. Even though, like the previous game, you can complete this game in solo mode completely by yourself without playing with other players, and you won't see any other players unless you're in a safe zone or unless you're playing in a group. But unlike the first game, you will get constantly bombarded with notifications that say, hey, this player is asking for assistance. I could not find a way to turn this off. I constantly had a yellow light glow off my character, an audio message saying so-and-so is looking for assistance, and a message at the bottom that popped up saying this person is looking for assistance. This happened in the open world. It happened in side missions. It happened in main missions, where this is actually a great feature for when you're playing a mission and you're getting stuck. You can call for assistance, and other people in that mission can probably just easily jump into your game. But if I'm playing solo, I want to play solo. I don't want to constantly be reminded that, oh yeah, I'm online in a game. I'm trying to be immersed. This constant bombardment totally killed the immersion for me. So I just could not get into it that much. It would constantly just go off and it'd be a huge annoyance. If you found a way to deactivate this in the beta, please comment below and tell me how, or message me something, because I could not figure out how to get rid of that. It was really annoying. The only other issue I might have with this game is that Ubisoft has been very transparent with the fact that they focused on endgame. And every time I hear a developer say, we're focusing on the endgame, makes me worry, did they just skip through the story, or does the story lack substance? Because all they cared about is what people are going to do after they finish the story. That's still yet to be seen. There are still echoes. There are still audio logs to pick up that tell the story the same way the Division 1 did, and they are very interesting. I feel like the Division 1 had a better opening, though, because they had the live-action news and you had the play going on. DC is not set up the same way, but it does sound like there is something interesting happening. So there might be a story, who knows. The only other main issues that I had while playing was I was constantly kicked out of the game from the server, not for maintenance, but every time, maybe every 20 minutes I play, and then suddenly I get kicked to the main screen saying you've been disconnected. And then there were some glitches when using the menu systems and some audio issues that were happening back and forth. But since this is a beta and not a demo, I expect that these issues will be fixed by the launch of the game in March. Overall, if you like Division 1, you'll like the Division 2. If you were looking for something that may have more focus on a good narrative, Division might have it, but they really are focusing on end game content. So be cautious of that. But I'm a Division fan. I'll probably enjoy the Division 2. If you are a Division fan, definitely jump in and enjoy it, okay? See you later. Bye.